Welcome to the Left Hand Perspective. My name is BlaZae Bay, and if you are someone who is on a personal path to self-mastery, yet find it hard fitting into most social settings, then subscribe to this podcast. First, I want to say thank you to all of the listeners of the Left Hand Perspective podcast, to those who have been supporting. You are truly appreciated. I mean that. Man, I'm starting to get a groove now when it comes to the podcast. We're only getting better. Today I'll be having a conversation with Michael Bell, A.K.A. the Professor. He's been on the show several times. He was last on the show. He did an episode on the Kabbalion and a few other times talking about the occult meaning of masonry. So if you want to check out those episodes, I will be putting a link in the show notes where you can listen. Today we'll be having a conversation on the occult science of Baphomet. If you're familiar with the Baphomet, or if you've ever seen the picture, which obviously to many people it's a very scary picture. It's seen as the devil. They use it in Hollywood, and man, it's looked at as an evil symbol, pretty much. And really, it's not evil at all. There's a science to this symbol, and Michael Bell, he breaks down the science. So let's get into the conversation. Thank you so much for coming back on the show, brother. Like I said before, and the last time you was on, we talked about the Kabbalion. I was heavy in the Kabbalion at the time. I got to get back into it, but I was real heavy in it at that time. So that was a really good build, man. Thank you for that. I want to also, before we get started, got to shout out your book, man. The Occult Meaning of Masonry, its Symbols and the Chakra System. If you, to all the listeners, if you haven't read it yet, definitely check this out. I'll put a link in the description. Man, this is a wonderful book. It came out at the right time, man. It really did. As I started my Masonic journey, it was a good and still a good handbook, good study guide. So definitely got to shout your book out, man.
Thank you.
How's the reception been? Because it's over a year now, right?
Yes, over a year, and believe it or not, I've sold. I know in terms of an independent author, I've sold close to 300 books.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I just recently, I was for tax reasons, tax time coming up, and I was going through all the paperwork, and I was kind of blown away myself, like, wow, So I just say to myself, we have no idea the contributions we make to this what you call the collective unconscious, the contributions that we make, because for the most part, by being unconscious, we don't really get to see our direct contribution,
Yeah.
And so I've said it before when we talked, I felt like it was a channel book. I felt like a lot of the information I didn't put in the book because I was saying to myself, wait, where is this coming from? I don't even know how to back this up. I couldn't find but then I had to accept that it was a channel book. A lot of the information came to me just through deep meditation, lots of studying. I don't want anybody to think I pulled it out of a hat, but it was amazing to me to see that it was so well received, and even those who didn't, because even the disagreements is a point of light,
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, man. It's one of those books where I didn't want to, I didn't rush through it. I'm taking my time with it. It's like certain chapters I gotta skip to. I'm like, my mind be all over the place. but it's one of those books where you don't have to necessarily look at it in order. It might be one thing that speaks to you at a certain time and another.
Mhm.
So I'm taking my time with this book, man. But I love it, man.
And just real quick, that was the point. That not the point. That was exactly how I wanted that book to be written. I wanted to be if you were doing some research and study on just the Kabbalion, you could be able to go to that chapter, and it won't depend on, even though each chapter builds upon the next. If you wanted to go in just for the information on Kabbalion, Kabbalah, chakra work, whatever, you could go directly to that chapter and you can get that work. Whereas if you read it from cover to cover, each would build upon the next, but they stand alone on their own. So to hear you say that, it's like, again, it's another thing that I had in mind as a reader myself. As a reader myself, a lot of books, and these are great authors, they build. So it's like you can't jump in the middle because then you'll miss what it was building up to. So I wanted to write a book that still had meat, but that you could actually take it apart in sections and go from there.
All right. Well, I'm so grateful you did that, man, for my scatterbrain. It was perfect. Man, I wanted to talk to you about the Baphomet.
Mhm.
Ooh, the Baphomet. When I first saw the symbol, and you see it Hollywood will always try to
Hollywood.
use it, in TV, and it kind of shocked me when I first saw when I was first getting into Brother Panic.
Mhm.
He wear he got that Baphomet chain or the pendant. And
Yeah.
when I first saw it, this was back in, let's say, like 2017, the end of 2017. I was like, "Whoa, what is this motherfucker into, man? What's going on here?"
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I just remember, like, because of my religious programming, I was fearful of it. But then I got to a point where I asked myself, like, okay, well, why am I afraid of that?
Mhm.
Where is that fear coming from? Like, and what does this symbol actually represent? And my curiosity, my intuition was like, just dive into it, brother. And the next thing I know, I'm learning about a science. Not even,
Mhm.
it's not as spooky as people think it is, as it's made out to be. It's a science. Like, man, so much
No,
symbolism in one picture,
and by it being a symbol, that information is actually uncorruptible, even though the Baphomet symbol has been adopted. A lot of people are associated with Satanism, and later we can get into that. But just as a symbol, if you don't deal with the external and just focus on the symbol, the images, the correspondences, the information that it relays, it will survive unblemished. So long as you get past the spooky, scary part. And the spooky, scary part is designed to show the uninitiated versus the initiated. It's just designed to say, if you're uninitiated, run. You like that little meme, run, get up out of here. But if you're initiated and you can move past whatever that fear, whatever it is, once you do that, then you look at it and you say, oh, wow, okay, it's Kabbalistic. It involves all the elements and, this and that. So it's actually just, it's amazing to me. It's amazing.
Yes, sir. And I pulled up a picture of it right now, and
Uh-huh.
it reminds me of C. Freemanell, and him talking about Moorish science, and how with Moorish science, with the cult, it's more taking knowledge and hiding it, and then being able to take that hidden knowledge to unlock it and know it. And
Mm-hmm.
that was always what drew me in, and even thinking about, like, in this day and age with like cryptocurrency, crypto, that cryptography.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing right now with blockchain and being able to let's say encryption, taking some information and putting it in a form where nobody can get into it unless you have the key. So it's like now that the world is going into that in that direction, I kind of got prepared for it in diving into the occult, because
Yeah, yeah.
it's something that we've always been doing. But what was your how did you get introduced into that science?
Well, and from what you just said, we had a lot of the same teachers. We had a lot of the same instructors online, from people like Bobby Hemmett and Paddock. I can honestly say with Bobby, that's when I had to confront that social uh, stigma that's placed on Baphomet. So when Bobby did the series "What If God Was the Devil," um, that was one of the ones that made me like begin to like I had no idea that I had any preconceived notions. Oh, it's just a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
But Bobby had a way. He was an iconoclast. He's going to destroy your idol and make you really look at what's going on. So with that, that was the beginning. And then as I progressed and I moved on to Brother Panic, that's when for me it was. I said, well, you know what? I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, basically a diehard Christian. So I said, I'm going to confront the things that I'm afraid of. So initially, I just jumped to the conclusion of I'm going to pursue all things dark. I'm going to get into it, you know. And so one of the first things that you're going to deal with is going to be the image of Baphomet, the
Mm-hmm.
image. Because to be honest, even to this day, outside of Elias Levy and a few others, that image is still shrouded in mystery,
Uh-huh.
for the most part. I even say this recently, some months ago, about 6 months ago, I did an interview by a Moorish brother,
Mm-hmm.
and he just was he just was like, man, Baphomet is the white boy symbol, and it's evil, and it's this, and it's that.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just amazed at how, especially him being a Moor, and he quick to tell me we invented everything. So
Uh-huh.
I'm saying that we invented this Baphomet symbol.
Right.
If we invented everything, now it's easy to say, oh, it's associated with this, child sacrifice, and white
Yeah.
boy did this, and whatever, whoever did that. But again, for me, I decided to cut all the chatter out and discover for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I went down that road, and even then, my wife, she isn't on this path that I'm on. She's not religious. She doesn't go to church, but some things to her are still, she considers it scary. Like
Yeah.
I'll even tell you something funny. I used to have a bunch of T-shirts with sigils on them.
Uh-huh.
And to what let me know they work, she used to tell me everything you got is scary, even those shirts with the squiggly lines. Because this is just speaking to the primal part of us. So
Yeah.
for me, I wanted to get past everybody else's, because that's something that, like, if you walk down the street, you see everybody running, you just run too. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna stay around. I'm out. And so for me, that was my like introduction, just going against the crowd, because like we just said, there still are those who will tell you how evil that is, or it's
Mm-hmm.
associated with child sacrifice. Now, what I do want to say, while we're on the topic, and I mentioned it twice, the Baphomet symbol has been appropriated for that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to say for that, but people doing those things have used it. But because of the spooky factor, it gives them tingles when they put on their robes and light candles and walk in reverse circles. That's what does it for them. And like we said at the very beginning, this symbol, the information it relays is actually, it cannot be corrupted. Now it can be taken. You can use a hammer to open your car to get in your car, but that don't mean you did it right.
Right, right.
You might have to break a window. You got to do some damage. Whereas the Baphomet symbol actually represents a key to unlocking your car and getting in and driving off. So I don't want to downplay what has been done. Like even I'll say this: where is it at where they have the in the public area they have the Baphomet statue with the little kids? Is that in like that's in Kansas or Oklahoma?
Where is that at? I done forgot.
I forget offhand.
I'm trying to. Oh, it's in. I think it's in Detroit.
Okay, so I thought so. I said Michigan. Okay, but what a lot of people don't know is a lot of people look at that and they say, "See, the government," because it's in a public place. And the thing about that statue, people don't know the history behind that statue. Yeah. The government didn't put it in there. It was voted on, and it got approved because it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing to show how government and religion are actually working hand. It had a message behind it, and they used Baphomet to relay that message. But just the point I'm making, just to get back on track, is that I chose to deal with the symbol itself, and not the fear or misconceptions associated with the symbol, and let alone the common misbelief. A lot of people say that's the devil, and I've talked to people and said, well, hey, show me in the Bible where this goat is described. Yeah. Show me where there's a goat with solvet coagula on one arm, solvet on one arm and it coagula on the other, and he has a flame over his head. He showed me. Yeah. Nobody can. And then on top of that, the Bible is 2,000 plus years old. Baphomet symbols, what, knocking on 100? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just a lot of misconceptions. It comes down to context and what's the other. It's just the definition versus the etymological meaning. And the definition, the common usage is evil, bad, but the etymology is so much deeper. Matter of fact, before we get off, I'm gonna read something out of the book Sufis. The book called Sufis. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. And
I've heard of. I've done a little research on Sufism, but I haven't heard of I'm not sure the book that you're talking about.
Well, it's called The Sufis by. I'm pulling it up now. I want to show this real quick. It's called Sufis by Idris Shah. Matter of fact, a lot of people will remember that's the book that Bobby read. And what lends validity to this book is the fact that the foreword was written by Robert Graves, who is he's a renowned scholar, historian, and mythologist. And okay, I think this is it right here. Let me see. But basically, what it says, this guy Idris Shah, he wrote this book just to. It wasn't even about Baphomet. He had a few passages on the Baphomet symbol, and basically what he was doing was just showing the origins of it. And you would think that the Moors, people who are anybody who's quick to say something evil, but he basically aligns it with the Moors, and he aligns it with the Moors and the fact that they were the teachers of Knights Templar. And so real quick, if you don't mind, I'll read.
Go ahead.
It's in the book by Idris Shah, page 254, 255. It's only a couple paragraphs, and he said it's called "Mysteries in the West: The Head of Wisdom," because that's essentially what the Baphomet represents, is known as the head of wisdom. And what he says there is that when they suppressed the Knights Templar, who were accused of worshiping the head, sometimes called the Baphomet or the Baphomet, this was considered to be an idol, probably connected to Muhammad or Mahomet. So there's a connection between the name of Baphomet and Muhammad. Muhammad being the one of the greater prophets in Islam. Yeah. And that's one of the greatest, right? And the head was described, but no head which could positively be identified as the one of Baphomet could ever be located. So again, this was a symbol, wasn't a physical head. Now, at some point it's possible, but what he's saying from his research, he couldn't find it. And it says, it'll be noted that the word knowledge and understanding used here is derived from the Arabic word, the Arabic root FHM or FHM. And he says FHM in turn is used to stand for both FHM and derivative, meaning knowledge. Now, the FHM is the Fomet or Baphomet, and it derives, and he says, an FHM derivative standing for black Coleman and so on. The Baphomet is none other than a symbol of the completed man, the black head, the Negro head, or Turk's head, which appears in heraldry and English country ensigns, is a crusader substitute word for this kind of knowledge. Now, that right there is mind blowing, because what he's relaying is that this Baphometic symbol was used with the Knight Templar. That was a reflection of their teachers, who were the Moors, and it stood for knowledge and understanding.
Yeah.
You know, and it just says the use of this term, especially the wondrous head theme, recurs throughout medieval history. I just stopped right there, but I just wanted to show one of the few sources that actually gets to the root. And you see that it says the cold man, the black head, the Negro head. Basically, it was in reference to the people who gave them this information. And so it's mind blowing, and it's not hard to get to these sources for yourself, but you do have to have an open mind, because the thing about where we exist at right now on planet Earth, especially at this time with the internet, what people don't know is you will find whatever you're looking for.
Oh yeah.
That's it, point blank. Especially with the internet. The internet will finish your sentence for you. If you go on Google, it'll finish your sentence for you if you let it. And it's also amazing to me when I find the correspondence in Kabbalah. In Kabbalah, Malkuth, the planet Earth, and this world of Messiah, it is called the world of action and the world of 1,000 things. So again, this all lines up with, you have to be subjective and objective at the same time to get to the heart of a matter. We can't be purely, we can't function purely from one aspect. You got to have, like I mentioned Kabbalah, you have to have those three pillars. You have the two polar opposites, and then you have the middle path to walk, and that way you can pluck from both sides of the aisle. But get back to the question you asked, that was my introduction. Just the pursuit of a pure symbol. And what was funny to me was I had a Baphomet T-shirt. I'd actually got it from Occult Cherokees, right?
Yeah.
when Dane Brown had the Occult Cherokees, and I bought this Baphomet
Shout out
T-shirt.
to Occult Cherokees, by the way.
Man, you know what?
Those are some powerful shirts.
Powerful shirts. I actually, to be honest with you, this past summer I bought a whole chakra set. You know,
wow.
just to show you. I know that those things were imbued with straight power. But what was funny to me, the Baphomet T-shirt I had, you know, I wore it so much and washed it and dried it, it started to shrink. So my daughter said, "Daddy, can I have your teddy bear T-shirt?" And I said, "Teddy bear T-shirt? I don't own no teddy bear. What you talking about?" She went and got it, and it was Baphomet. I said, "Baby," she said, "I just want to wear it to bed. I just want to wear it, for pajamas." Right. I said, "Baby, yes, you can have it." So she took it. She came back and she said, "Daddy, what's the teddy bear name?" I said, "His name is Boppy." His name is Boppy. You go and rock that. So, you know, again, I'm just glad that I was able to expose my children to it with none of the fear.
Yeah.
So even if they get older and don't remember, that symbol won't just frighten them to death, you know. And so that's how we get these introductions to things, is actually through the generation and the people before us who raised us, you know.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I'm looking at the symbol right now, and you know, the one thing when you start to get into like occult symbolism is once you've been once you be made aware of something, it's like you can't unsee it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
going back with what you were saying, because I want you to go into, I want to talk about some of the symbolism in that symbol, or the science in the symbol. But going back what you said about with it being introduced by the Moors, the first thing that comes out to me is that the crescent moon and star,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Mm-hmm.
is you pretty much see that in the Baphomet symbol. He got the 5-pointed star above his head,
Mm-hmm.
and to the left of him, that that crescent moon, and it
Yeah.
always reminded. It's like it just took me back to that Moorish or that Islamic symbol, our self-law master. It's like,
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, and even though it's not, when you see it on the picture, of course they're not both like close together, but still now every time I go back to that symbol, I see that, and it's like I can't unsee it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know?
You know what gets me is the more studying I do, the more I find myself reading books that the people who I consider my teachers read.
Uh-huh.
And when you speak on that crescent moon, number one, the sun, moon, and the star, these are symbols
Mm-hmm.
that represent celestial bodies, but they also have alchemical meanings.
Mm-hmm.
They also have mineralogical meanings. The moon is silver, the sun is gold, things like that. But what I think about the most when you just mentioned about the I self law and master, that always brings to mind C. Freeman Nail.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you remember one of C. Freeman Nail's lectures. He pointed out how when a Moor or a Sufi from somewhere else, they didn't speak the same language and they spoke. He said all the Moor had to do was what? Point in the air.
Yeah.
And he said it would be understood as above,
Mm.
so below. That right there is encapsulated in the image of the Baphomet.
Yes, sir.
One hand pointing up as above, so below. You know, and so with all these things can be relayed in layers and layers of understanding that will meet the if you're if you're decoding this symbol, it will meet you on your level.
Yeah.
So if it's a level of fear, you find fear. But if you're looking for that true gnosis, that knowledge of self, you will see, like you said, I can't unsee that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then by you seeing the moon, and by you seeing the crescent moon, we know that uh, that gives it a slight connection to masonry, because
Yeah.
masonry is mother and
Mother
son,
and son.
sun and moon and sun,
Mason.
you know? And so uh, these are timeless symbols. And they're put in place because while languages change, religions and nations uh, rise and fall, these symbols remain the same for millennia. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So I definitely agree with you on that. And if you want to discuss the symbol, we can get into it.
Yes, sir.
And actually, what I want to do for myself, I want to put it up so that way I can look at it and we can talk about it as we go. And one
I
moment
got me. I
myself.
got me a. I've been working with the. I got a Baphomet ring
Okay, okay.
that I've been working with too. So it's like once you start to understand. For me, even when I didn't understand the science, and I'm still I'm still learning about it, but it was always calling to me. As
Mhm.
scared as I was of it, there was still a part of me. It was like you need to look into this. It's something that might change your life. That might help you.
Yeah, yeah.
Ain't nothing to do with worshiping anything outside of you, because it's all symbols that represent what's going on within.
Hmm. Now, I'll say this. Let's just go real quick. Not real quick. Let's just take in the symbol for what it is. Now, the goat head, that goes back to the goat of Mendez.
Mm,
Um, so the more research you do on the goat of Mendez, that gives it that pan energy,
okay.
you know. And Pan was a powerful deity. I can't recall offhand all of the correspondences for Pan, but Pan ultimately does resolve into like a Christ image.
Uh huh.
Ultimately, you know. And so there are several correspondences, and like I said, I can't call it offhand just to walk it backwards, but you definitely can get to that energy. Now you look at the Baphomet symbol, you have the flame on top of the head.
Mm-hmm.
That's enlightenment, and that for me when I look at that symbol and I see that flame above his head, that reminds me of the Kabbalistic tree of life, and just above Kether is Ein Sof, and Ein Sofer. Or you can even relate it to the chakra system, and you look and the Sahasrara chakra is always depicted as being above the head.
Mm-hmm.
That the Sahasrara chakra is known as the 1,000-petaled lotus, and it's just above the head. And so these are emanation rays of light, but it's always something to be reached for. And we know that fire is also a correspondence to light, because that was fire served many purposes long ago. One is for heat and things like that, but also for light.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see the possibility for enlightenment. You look at that crescent moon. That is also, you only see the moon as a. If we lived in a life where we never saw the sun, we would know of its existence because it's reflected off of the moon.
Right.
So the moon is also known as a luminary. It's known as light. The moon has 3 major phases, but it also has 14 minor phases. The moon goes through 14 phases from the 1st to the 14th, and then from the 15th to the 28th, there's 14 more. And the more you study and learn, you'll find out that the moon, even in its crescent phases, in the different phases, the moon is an allusion to Osiris. Remember, Set chopped Osiris up into how many pieces? 14. 14. This is an allusion to lunar cycle. And I'll be honest, I made this connection, even though Osiris is not a moon deity, but that's Khonsu in Egyptian uh, theology or mythology. It's associated with Khonsu, but still we know that in Egypt, these were not multiple gods. They were all just different emanations of the one God.
Right, right.
Because even in Egypt, there was only one God, and that was Ra. So all these deities are just reflections, polarities in different degrees of the one God. So you got that there. You also have, and we just spoke on the as above, so below. He has one hand that's pointing up, which is which has Solve written on it. Solve means to dissolve, and then the downward facing hand is et coagula, which means to coagulate. Now, this is actually as above, so below. This is showing that the same internal process in our body, because the solve, the dissolving of things, happens in our body. When we eat, drink, these things are dissolved, and then out of that dissolving, the necessary nutrients and minerals are extracted. The waste is disposed of, but the things we can use, these things coagulate into our blood, and it becomes, youth. So that's just showing the same way you go about gaining knowledge yourself. And when you learn, you have to do this process internally, which is to solve, dissolve, and then coagulate. So again, it's just like I said, it's amazing to me when you look and you say you can get all this just from looking at a symbol, And what else we got here? Oh, the wings represent air, which is one thing I always noticed. I always think about when you see those old school pictures of like the Archangel Michael and Lucifer. They both have wings, but in the image you always see the Archangel Michael. He's floating.
Yeah.
He's floating, and Lucifer with his wings, he's still landlocked.
Yeah.
And so you look at the Baphomet, he's sitting on a portion of the globe. So the ability for flight is there, but clearly the Baphomet hasn't taken off yet.
Right.
Yet. The difference in the Baphomet and the symbol I just spoke on with the Archangel Michael and Lucifer is that Lucifer clearly has his back on the ground. His wings are pinned.
Yeah.
Whereas the Baphomet is sitting there like he basically like, man, come on, let's do it. I'm waiting on you. You know? Exactly. And so what else can we talk? Oh, okay. There's the male phallus. There's the penis with the kundalini energy, the two serpents rising, one light, one dark. That's Ida and Pingala. That's the kundalini reference. That's the same energies, positive and negative, that rise up through the body and of course go crest through the head. But we can also refer back to C. Freeman L. when he gave us the most potent piece of information possible, in that every 72 hours for men is semen, women is the ovum. It travels from the sex organs up the spine and to the head. So with Baphomet having this erect penis, and it's actually, to be honest, if you look at some, it's a penis, but most it's not. It look like a rod.
Yeah, I was gonna
or
say,
or a wand.
When I heard people saying there was a penis, I'm like, well, where the penis sit? I'm looking at that rod. I'm like, oh, that's what they considered considering a penis, I guess.
Come on, and the rod and the wand, that's a direct tarot correspondence. Rods and wands, these are emblems of power.
Yeah.
They are phallic symbols. They also represent the spine, upright, and things like that, you know. And so again, exactly. And so we look at all these, we have all the elements there. Yeah. He even has fish scales. He has fish scales on the arm. That's for water. Fish scales also correspond to the sign of Aquarius. Now, even though Aquarius is known as the water bearer, that bucket of water that Aquarius is carrying is knowledge. It's not water. But, you know, knowledge is one of the things that can be equated to water, you know? And so he has the masculine and feminine side. The one is the naked left breast of a male, and the other is a female. That's just to show that polarity, that androgyny that exists within everybody, you know? And then you have the of course, we talked about the 5-pointed star. And the thing about the 5-pointed star, it has a lot of different meanings. Well, I won't say a lot. One of the best is arm a leg, arm a head. Yeah, you know, it's actually it's showing the correspondence between God and man, because the man with his arms outstretched. The most famous image of that is the Vitruvian Man, Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. That shows the human being with his arms and legs outstretched, being the physical representation of the pentagon, you know, of that 5-pointed star. And now what some don't know is that when that point is facing upward, that means that's a sign of devotion, of giving your energy up, whether it be to God or to the higher self. And when it's pointed down, it's a means of bringing it down here to work with, for your own good. And one of the best explanations I've never heard nobody else say this other than Brother Panic, is that if you look at a pentagon, when the fifth ray is pointing upwards, okay, let me back it up just a little bit. In the center of a 5-pointed star, you will find the symbol for a house, like a monopoly piece of property. If you look at it from the side, you'll see it has the symbol of a house. It has the one slash at the bottom, the two sides, and then two more sides going up to the point of a house. Well, if you have that fifth point facing upward, guess what? The house is upside down. In disarray. If the fifth point is facing down, the house is right side up and in order. And a lot of people aren't familiar that the symbol for eastern stars is a 5-pointed star with the star facing downward. Yeah. You know, and I think that's a powerful overlooked symbol in terms of what's in the middle of that star, which is a house facing upward, you know. And so I basically, you know, we just walked through the entire image of Baphomet, and I haven't heard anything scary.
No.
You know, when you look at it, I was trying to explain this to my wife recently. She was asking me why I like to watch scary movies, and so it's kind of it's kind of hard to understand, but the best way that the ancients knew to convey power is through ugliness, for lack of a better term. I mean, think about it. Think about it. In the Bible, primal energy. In the Bible, whenever the seraphim, who else? Not the cherubim, but for sure the seraphim. Oh yeah, the cherubim too. I take that back because the cherubim had the head of a man, a bull, and you know, the eagle. What I want to say is this: whenever them angels approach people in the Bible, do you know the first thing they always said to the person they appeared to? Do you remember?
What did they say? I forgot.
Be not afraid.
Oh yes, yeah, they showed it.
Why would they say that?
Okay,
obviously,
I can remember now. Like when the angel came to Jesus, with Mary.
when he came to Jacob, Isaiah, Ezekiel, all these people who had direct encounters with angels, the first thing they would say is, "Be not afraid." And that you, like I was saying before we started recording, I was saying to you that I had been going through the Bible, the book of Isaiah, and the descriptions of different angels, and the description of the seraphim. Actually, if you just read the description, there's actually some. It would scare you. Now the seraphim as an order of angels, they serve to guard the throne of God. It was 6 of them, and they were in a circle above the throne. They had 6 wings, 2 to cover the face, 2 to cover the feet. The two that they flew with, the ones covering the feet and the hands were covered with nothing but eyes. The word seraphim breaks down to fiery serpent, so they had serpentine features on a human body. I mean, you look at all this. That's a Wes Craven. This is a horror movie, right? Today, if you put that in a movie, and they have been in movies. I don't know if you remember Pan's Labyrinth. The movie Pan's Labyrinth.
I haven't seen that one yet.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, there's one point where it's this like demon, and he has eyes in his hands, and he puts his hands up to his eyes so he can see, and he has the eyes in his wings. He was just a seraphim. He was just a seraph. He was an angel. But the horror aspect is a denotation for the uninitiated of just how powerful this entity is that you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? So when you come to an image like Baphomet and you see this black head, but now the first thing we read was Idris Shaw's description, the Negro head, the Turk head, the Coleman, right? So the reason why the Baphomet had that cold black head, it was a representation not only of the Moors, but of the alchemical properties of coal. Because we know if you apply enough pressure to coal, you end up with the diamond.
Yeah.
Right. So all these things all these things exist for you to gain that knowledge of self and not so much become enlightened, but realize that you are the light that you're searching for anyway. All this exists beside this much power is right there waiting for you to say, "Man, I'm out. Flap them wings, let's roll." You know, and for me, that's amazing. And I don't care who has whatever opinion they have. I look at this and I don't see what they see. You know, I don't see what they see.
Absolutely. I've been just fixated on it since you've been talking and just looking at the symbology of it, and man, I absolutely. It's like the more and more that I learn about the science behind it, the more and more it's like it's calling to me, you know.
And you'll find that as you do the work, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, you will be drawn to certain symbols. You will be. Like I tell you, I was never a dark sider. I was never a, even though I did do that work. I've channeled demons. I've done all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was never like, for me, it was a rung on the ladder. It was never a destination.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to I just had to ride down this freeway to get to where I'm going.
Yeah.
And when I pull over to get gas, I'm gonna talk to everybody there. That's how it was for me. And what I found was that, man, I've had so many meditations and dreams involving Baphomet. I never forget. Just real quick, I had a awesome. Well, for me, it was awesome. I had a dream, and in the dream, I was in this huge park, but for some reason, I knew that there was like a barbecue or a party going on, and everything was where I was at. I was standing by a tree, but I could see halfway across this big old park. I could see somebody over there getting down, bunch of food, and I'm squinting. I look, and I say to myself, "Man, somebody got on a 49er jersey or something." I'm looking, I see these colors. I see black and red. For some reason, my mind said somebody got on a 49er jersey or something. So I said, I'm heading over there. So as I get closer, I realized that it's not a Niner jersey, but it was more like a poncho. It was red and black. It was red and black. And the closer I got, it was a straight goat. Oh, wow. But he had the black head with the horns. He didn't have hooves, or he had hands. And as I got closer, he was chowing down on some big old, it was a huge bowl of like salad. Had salad. It was a juiced up salad though. He was killing it because it was salad hanging out the end of his mouth, and he was just shoveling it in. And so when I got closer, it didn't scare me off. I was just curious. So when I got closer, I went to ask a question, and barely pausing to eat, he put up one hand and was like, "Nah, nigga, no, get up out of here. No, I'm not answering none of your questions." So I laughed to myself because he went back to punishing that salad. And when I woke up, I laughed. And so I was in one of these groups on Facebook, and one of them dark side groups, and I couldn't resist it because I had deep, for myself, again, these symbols they have a general accepted meanings, and then they have personal meanings. Whether personally it's scary to you or personally it means this and that. So I had to tell somebody in one of the groups, and I was like, Baphomet is a vegan, right? And I was like, all the energy he getting is from the yoga pants wearing crew. Because I'll tell you something that helped me to connect these dots. On Instagram years ago, I say years ago, but like 2016, 2017, I was, how you follow the different hashtags. Well, I followed the hashtag Baphomet. And I couldn't understand why. I thought it would be more spooky, scary stuff on it, right? But if you go to the hashtag Baphomet, you're going to see a bunch of little chicks. I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. See a bunch of little white chicks in yoga pants, and they're doing yoga, and they're vegans, and they're doing this and that. And so you figure, when I had that dream, for me, that's the dots I connected, because these are the people. He's getting this energy from the Pilates crew, and that's why he had to chow down. That's why he was eating so viciously. I don't even got no time to talk, right? Because ain't nobody sacrificing no babies. I'm not eating off you dark side foods. I'm eating off the Pilates and yoga pants crew. Yeah. So no, get up out of here. I'm gonna answer none of your questions. You just gonna make jokes, and you can waste my time. And that's the only way And again, I'm not anybody else got a different opinion, but I'm just saying that was the conclusion that I came to. And so, we got shows like, I believe it's American Gods, that shows the transitions these deities are having to make, because as times change, these deities don't disappear, they just transmute. Yeah. What a lot of people don't know, Baal is considered a demon. In the Bible is mentioned, but actually Baal is just a lower form of Yahweh. It just transformed. So as the devil, okay, a good example real quick, in Egypt, There's very strong evidence. The books are by Maug Morgan. Maug Morgan has a series of books. The Bull of Umbos. Let me look at my library real quick. The Bull of Umbos, Pan's Road, and Tecum Set. Well, in these books, he does the best. If he does the best research on Set typing. And what he points out is that initially, Set was one of the original gods of Egypt.
Yeah.
And there was a clear point where it began to transition from Set to Osiris, Horus, and all the other deities. And there's even he shows in his books very strong evidence that originally Set was a female deity, because that's where you have the connection between Set and Hathor. And but just actually it all ties into Baphomet, everything we just talked about. But there's only one deity. Yeah, they're just different reflections and aspects. But the point I want to make is, what was once evil, when it becomes popular or mainstream, or there's a transition, well, I'm going to take that back. What was once good, when there's a transition and this energy transmutes and a new deity takes place, what was once good becomes evil.
Right.
And so you look at a deity like Baal, and you say he's now bad, but originally Baal means something like favorite of Yahweh. I forget. Baal is just an aspect of Yahweh. And so earlier, while we were recording, you were talking about crypto and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wish I had the information on hand. I could probably pull it up, and if I find it, I will. I documented it. I made the connection between Bitcoin and the Goetia.
Really?
In particular, the behemoths that's mentioned in the Bible. And if I can find it while we're talking, I will. And that way,
we gonna have to talk about that shit another time.
Man,
I gotta hear that.
And I literally made this connection like 2 years ago.
Wow.
It had to have been like 2019, 2020, and I was just telling somebody when I finally made the connection. I had to tell somebody. I was like, man, do you know that Bitcoin is connected to the behemoth? Because behemoth represents wealth and things like that in terms of the Goetia, And so I just say that these things, these images, they don't go anywhere. They just transmute and transform.
Right.
That's it. And I'm trying to find this information now. If I find it, I'll bring it up. Okay. But either way, it's just that when we have these symbols like the Baphomet, and they go through, which actually the Baphomet has been shrouded in darkness from its inception, because it's an initiator. It was a symbol used as a symbol for initiation.
Oh yeah.
And again, that's why Baphomet is sitting on the earth. He's waiting to take the newly initiated up into the heavens. In terms of the tree of life, again, Alive is Levy, who's credited with finally fleshing out this symbol. The one hand pointed up is pointing at Geburah. Geburah is the planet Mars. Mars is the planet we attribute with war, but Mars is actually a restrictor, a limiter. And it does have a martial energy of going to war, but not so much like people saying, well, Mars is a retrograde, so I got an attitude.
Yeah.
Mars is spoken. Mars is not against you. That's your personal. Mars is just gonna be like, if you bite off more than you can chew, I'm gonna roll with you. Right. Together we're gonna serve them. But Mars is not gonna let you bite off more than you can chew. Period. And that's that energetic symbol. But you look, and I was telling you earlier that I couldn't find a image, because now in the days of the internet, you should be able to go to Google and anything you can think of, it should pop up. Well, I was looking for a symbol of the Baphomet superimposed over the tree of life, and it wasn't there, because a lot of people assume that the Baphomet would be collected with the clip off and darkness, which it can correlate, but Alive is Levy, who was accredited with this image that's so hotly debated today, he associated with the light side of the tree.
Yeah.
You know, the Sephiroth, Geburah and Chesed, you know, and then meeting there just above the solar plexus would be the sun, Tiferet. You know, those three in tandem is what allow us to reach the higher planes. You know, matter of fact, on the tree of life, Tiferet, which is the sun, Mars, which is Geburah, and Jupiter, which is Chesed. Those are the three. If you're going up the tree, if you're working your way up towards ascension, those are the three emanations that you meet before you cross the abyss. Only way to cross the abyss, only way you can cross the abyss is da'at, which is knowledge. So if you don't have, I mean, and that's in a very simplified way, if you don't have a proper understanding of how to work with this Baphomet symbol, you'll never cross the abyss, because the only way to cross the abyss is through da'at, which is through knowledge. You know, and the best thing I can say is knowledge itself.
Yes, sir.
Knowledge itself, you know. And so and I'll say this too, just on a brief tangent. I was telling you that there are other symbols like that of Mithras. Mithras has a snake wrapped around them. You got Abraxas. Abraxas is also another awesome symbol. Not so scary today. Pretty sure a few thousand years ago he was. But today you look at the symbol of Abraxas. He has snakes for feet. He's being pulled by 4 horses. He actually has on an apron. He wears an apron. He has a shield, a whip, and the head of a rooster. And then, of course, in the background, let me see if I can find an image of Abraxas real quick. I just want to draw the connection. Well, without even looking at the image, everything is there. The luminaries, he's the representation. Oh, the name Abraxas, Abraxas, 7 letters. The 7 letters correspond to the 7 planetary bodies. If you take the breakdown of each letter, it adds up to 365. The 4 horses represent the 4 quarters of the earth, the 4 primal elements, meaning that this symbol can get you anywhere you're trying to go. The shield represents the sun. The apron is similar. It has the same connotation of the Masonic apron, cutting off from your lower passions. It's also a sign of an initiate. The whip represents air. Has a human body. The rooster, of course, we know the rooster is associated with crowing at the crack of dawn at light. Roosters crow as the sun comes up. The rooster also, I believe, Abraxas also has fire above his head. But the point I'm making is, I'm pretty sure that in his time, Abraxas has been seen as something very scary.
Yeah.
But we can look at it now and we can see that it encapsulates a lot of esoteric information, you know. And again, these things were venerated for a very long time because it was something that could not be communicated to the uninitiated, to the average person. And so it goes back to the word occult, you know. And the thing about occult, it just simply means hidden. But just like the word ignorant, you have to choose to ignore it. Some people just don't want to see that, and that's okay. And that's okay. But those who do, that's why you have those alchemical paintings from like the Middle Ages, where you look at it and it just makes no sense. It's a man and a woman join, their bodies join, they both go in different ways. The sun is half red and half yellow, and it's this and that. But to the uninitiated, it's a nice painting, you know. But to those who have eyes to see, you can look at that and you can gain all the information you need. That's why, to be honest, you don't have to read all these books. It's there for a reason, but you can live a life of contemplation as long as you can sit down and give these things some thought. If you could just stare at one of those paintings or one of these images, you would get all the information that we're discussing right now.
Yeah.
You know, of course, that's why long ago people had mentors to help, you know, point out these things and keep them on the right track. Because without a mentor, you would look at a symbol like Baphomet and quite possible you come to the conclusion how evil it is.
Yeah.
You know, but we also live in a time where, shoot, to be honest, they know how they say when a student is ready, the master will appear. Well, for years I took that to be literal, but in actuality, you're the student and the teacher. And when you're ready, that teacher inside you activate.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Wow, I think I think Phil Valentine was saying something like that. It's like when you look in the when you looking in the mirror, the reflection is the teacher that you see. Or something like that. Shout out to Mastery Foolish for those clips.
Oh man, Master Foolish is the truth. But
Yes.
yeah. And who you said make this statement?
Dr. Valentine.
Oh, okay.
I gotta find the clip, but that's what that reminded me of. It's something like when you look in the mirror, that reflection, that's your teacher, and you the student.
Now, what I will say too, when you bring up the reflection, that also applies to these symbols, because these symbols just hold a mirror up to you.
Yeah.
And the people who react the hardest, they just see that all that power in them and they run. We've all seen the image of a cat hissing and growling at a mirror. There's no cat behind that mirror. That's just you hissing. That's just you running from. That's it. You know? But yeah, I agree with that. When you look in that mirror, because I think that's part of the reason why mirrors always had like a very magical connotation to them, you know? People say that mirrors and reflective surfaces can snatch your soul and things like that, because actually the student became the teacher through these reflections. So in a way, you could say, after looking in that mirror, man, Cameron was never the same again. Snatched his soul. He's not even the same person. But actually, the student became the teacher. You know, you became that reflection. You know, and just like holding up a mirror to a mirror, the upgrades are infinite.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Michael Bell, A.K.A. the Professor, my professor.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Oh, for real, man. Like, it's, you know, getting into the occult and esoteric knowledge, you know, especially coming from a black perspective. You know, there's not a lot of black people other than those who I talk to on the internet.
On the internet, huh?
On the internet, soon really get to have conversations like this. So man, I always look forward to these conversations, brother.
Oh man, I just say thank you for number one for having this platform, and you have such a diverse platform, you know.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's one of the keys when we were talking about the impact you make on the collective unconscious, how you can never really see it for yourself. You get glimpses. And I would say in your case, the fact that you have this diverse panel, people that you interview, whether it's music or whatever, is so diverse that for me, that shows the impact that you have. Because to be honest, we started off talking. We mentioned Bobby, C. Renell, Panic. Well, a lot of these people don't even teach anymore.
Right.
You know, and so we find ourselves being disciples that hold up the torch, and you just the platform you provide, it's very mind open to wonder and not closed to belief. And that's rare today, because with this internet, and like we said, you can find whatever you're looking for. Most people choose to find scary.
Yeah.
They choose to find something that's going, you know, fear him to death. So I just say to you, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing, and I see you working, man, and I appreciate it.
Oh man, much love, man. How can the people reach you?
Okay, thank you for saying that. Of course, you can find me. I'm on Instagram. I have one page. I am who I think I am, which is I am underscore who underscore I think underscore I am. I also have from my publishing company. I have another Instagram account called Pillar Publishing LLC. You can go on there. Most of what I post on there are just different books. I have a huge library, so some I pull from my library, some are from my wish list. But that page is actually open too. If you want to catch me there, on Facebook, Michael Bell. If you go in there, I'm pretty sure you find a lot of Michael Bell. There's a picture of me holding up my book, which is the Occult Meaning of Masonry and Symbols and Chakra System. I also I have a YouTube. I'm just getting up and running right now. I'm just uploading. Right now, I'm just uploading content before I start to do live things and live get downs and stuff like that. But if you want to go on there, it's Occult Topics with the Professor. And if you want, I'll shoot you the link to that. If you know. But if you go on there, make sure you like and subscribe. Again, a lot of diverse topics. A lot of these, most of them right now, as I'm uploading these on there, it's just old interviews I've done. Some stretch back to 2017 and upwards. But if you want to catch me, that's there. I'm always open if you want to reach out to me. If anyone wants to reach out to me via email, which would be michaelkbell@yahoo.com. Other than that, you can catch me on the internet. I got a Twitter. I'm rarely on there. Twitter account is Pillar Publishing LLC. And that's the best way to catch me.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, brother. Thank you for coming.
More than welcome. More than welcome.
And that was the conversation with Michael Bell, A.K.A. the Professor, breaking down the science of the Baphomet. Man, I love having him on the show. It's just amazing where he takes it, where he can really break down that science. I love it. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If this is something that you like and you think somebody else may get something out of it, go ahead and you can share this episode. You want to follow the Left Hand Perspective on social media. You can follow us on Instagram at the Left Hand Perspective. We got a Twitter as well, the Left Hand Perspectives. If you would like to support the Left Hand Perspective, I do have a Cash App, and that is $ Left Hand Perspective, $ Left Hand Perspective. I love putting on this show. I love putting out these episodes, having these conversations, and doing a podcast does cost money. So if you really are getting something out of these episodes, if the Left Hand Perspective has changed your life, or if you've learned something from these episodes and you would like to donate, go ahead and donate to the Cash App. Until next time, peace.